Welcome to this licensing hearing, and the first item on the agenda is to elect a member to act as chair of the meeting. And I understand that members would like Councillor Norman to chair the meeting. Is that agreed? Thank you, members. I'll hand over to the chair now.
Thank you very much for that, Fiona. Hello and welcome to members, officers and participants in this remote hearing and to those watching the live webcast at home. A recording of this hearing will also be made available to view on the Council's website after the fact. We come to agenda item 2, which is introductions. I am Councillor George Norman and I'm chairing today's meeting, and I'm joined by Councillor John Galvin and Councillor Anne Hook, who are also sitting on this subcommittee with me today. There's also a Democratic Services Officer, Fiona Young, and a Legal Officer, Victoria Wardby, in attendance during this meeting, who will be assisting us. We'll now go to the following parties in attendance to introduce themselves and name any witnesses that they have present. So the licensing manager, Leslie Cook, please.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everybody. I'm Leslie Cook. I'm the licensing manager and I'll be presenting the report to the meeting.
Thank you. The applicant, Hannah McCartan.
I'm Hannah McCartan. I'm the applicant. I also have Elliot Hardy with me as well, and I have David Burgess as well in the call.
Thank you. Representative Mike Taylor.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Mike Taylor. I live at number 11 Castlegate, so 2 doors down from number 7.
Thank you. The representative, Miss Wong, please.
Sorry, Miss Wong. Miss Wong, you're just on mute, so just if you just unmute quickly. Thank you. So just repeat what it was you just said.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm Bic Wong. I live at 11B Castlegate, and Mike Taylor is my neighbour.
Brilliant, thank you. And the representatives, Graham Dykes, Jordan Dykes, and their legal representative. Do you want to, I'm not sure which of you wants to do the introduction, but.
Good morning, I am Franz Gregory, a solicitor appearing on behalf of family members of number 9 Castlegate.
Brilliant, thank you. Excellent. So thank you everybody for that. We come to declarations of interest, agenda item 3. So do members have any interests that they want to declare at this stage?
No.
I don't. I see Councillor Hook is shaking her head too, so thank you. Agenda item 4 is the exclusion of press and public. So I'm going to propose that in the usual way, the press and public be excluded from the meeting during the subcommittee's deliberations and decision making at the end of the hearing. This is because it considers that the public interest in making the decision outweighs the public interest in the part of the meeting taking place in public under Regulation 14 of the Licensing Act 2003, Hearings Regulations 2005. Do members agree to resolve that?
Agreed.
Yep, excellent, thank you. There's also an agenda supplement which has been published as private information due to its contents. Victoria, I think you would like to give us some legal advice at this stage on that, if possible.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, Agenda Supplement 2 at the moment has been dealt with as private or restricted information. So there needs to be a determination by members at this hearing to decide whether or not that status remains and whether or not the test is met. My advice to you is that the documents, my understanding is that the documents are all public entries on the land registry system and so do not meet the test to be dealt with as restricted or private information and should be dealt with in full and published in full. My understanding, and I'm sure Fiona from Democratic Services will confirm, that although at the moment they're restricted on the Council's website, they can be published on the website shortly after the hearing, so they can be made public in that sense if you agree that that decision should be made. And I'd also ask Fiona to confirm that all parties to this hearing have received that information. So on that basis, I don't think there will be a need for a short adjournment for that information to be considered by the parties, but it might be worth, Chair, just checking that all of the parties have received the agenda and the 3 supplements at this time, just in case there is a need by any party for any time. But at the moment, my advice is that the test is not met for that to be maintained as restricted or private.
Fiona, could you briefly come in on this?
Yes, yes, I can confirm that it has been sent to all the representatives and the applicants in the case, and it can be made unrestricted on the website after the hearing if that's what members decide.
Move that, Chair.
Yeah, is that, there's no comment from any representative or applicant on that, is there?
Move it.
No, yeah, I agree. I think that makes eminent sense personally. So we will not go into recess to discuss that supplement 2. Okay, yeah, just to confirm as well from applicant and all representatives, 3 supplements to the agenda have been published, two published on the website as public and 1 which should have been circulated to you. Could I just confirm that all representatives and the applicant have received that paperwork?
Yes, we have. Thank you.
Yes, we have as well.
Yes, I have.
You have as well. Ms. Wong, just to confirm that as well, yes?
I'm not sure that I did, but it's possible that I may have missed something, but I'm quite happy to listen to the discussion and participate when I'm invited to.
Okay, so yeah, you're happy to proceed on the basis of that. We can, if you haven't received it and need to break and read it, then we can do that. That is fine.
It's fine. I'll follow the discussion.
That's right. Okay. If you're certain on that, that is much appreciated. Thank you. Okay. So we go to agenda item 5, which is the minutes of the council's licensing hearings held on the 29th of April 2021 and the 24th of May 2021, which appear in the agenda at pages 7 to 26. Are those minutes approved by the committee?
Chair.
Yeah, I will happily second and agree those too. So item 6 becomes the application, which is the determination of an application by Hardy Limited for a premises license in respect to the premises 7 Castlegate, York, Y019RN. So I will briefly describe the procedure for the hearing, because I think that's a useful thing for you all to be aware of. So the procedure that we'll be following at this remote hearing is detailed on pages 1 to 6 of the agenda pack. States that the subcommittee will not announce its decision after determination in this public online meeting today. The decision will be communicated in writing to all parties and announced on the council's website within 5 working days. What we usually aim to do is give a brief conclusion of what we have determined as soon as possible, and within those 5 working days give you a full decision. In summary, the running order of proceedings is that the licensing manager will first of all present their report. I will then invite each party one by one to ask the licensing manager any questions. Next, I will then invite each party in turn to present their cases and call any witnesses, and each party will have the opportunity to ask questions in turn after each presentation as directed by myself, and the subcommittee will then also ask questions of the parties after each presentation. Finally, after all parties have made their presentations and questions have been asked, each party will be invited to summarise their case, and the subcommittee will have an opportunity to seek any final points of clarification before it goes into private session to make its decision. Is there any questions about that procedure? Does everybody understand what we're trying to do? I will take silence as confirmation. Brilliant. Thank you very much. Very well. So could the licensing manager, Leslie Cook, please present her report now?
Thank you, Chair. This is the application for the grant of a premises licence for 7 Castlegate, York. The licensable activities applied for are recorded music and late night refreshment indoors and the supply of alcohol on and off the premises. Through the representation period, hours of operation for licensable activities have been mediated with the police and the applicant. So to prevent any confusion by reading the original hours that were applied in the application form, I'll let the applicant update you on the hours that have been agreed through the mediation process. A copy of the application has been published as an agenda supplement to the report, agenda supplement number 3, and the plans of the premises are attached to Annex 1. The premises is described in the application as a ground floor cafe bar specialising in natural organic wines, beers, spirits alongside a food menu, with 2 external areas at the front and rear of the premises. As part of the application, the operating schedule submitted by the applicant shows how the licensing objectives would be met. They can be found at pages 28 and 29 of the report. The applicant has submitted some additional information and that has been published as an agenda supplement. I can confirm that this premises is located within the Community of Impact Assessment area. The assessment can be found at Annex 3 and Section 9 of the Statement of Licensing Policy, which deals with community of impact, can be found at Annex 4. I can confirm that the consultation process has been carried out correctly. North Yorkshire Police has met with the applicant and mediated some conditions. They can be found at Annex 5 on pages 47 and 48. The Council's Public Protection Service has also met with the applicant and mediated some conditions, and they can be found at Annex 6 on page 49. 6 relevant representations have been received from other parties. The list of representatives can be found at Annex 7 and their representations can be found at Annex 8 from pages 53 to 76 of the report. A representative has submitted additional information that has been published as an agenda supplement, and that's supplement number 2. A map showing the general area around the premises can be found at Annex 9. The committee has the following options when making your decision. Option 1, grant the licence in the terms applied for. Option 2, grant the licence with modified additional conditions imposed by this licensing committee. Option 3, grant the licence to exclude any of the licensable activities to which the application relates and modify, add conditions accordingly. Option 4, reject the application. That's a brief overview of the report, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, Leslie, and thank you for your report. So we will now go through and ask everybody if they have any questions to ask. You have 5 minutes if you wish to ask questions.
Chair, sorry, Chair, to interrupt. It's Victoria Wardby. Can I just double check with Leslie Cook?
Yep.
There are 5 options in the report. There's refuse to specify a person on the licence as option 4 and option 5 reject the application. Is that right?
Yes, I stand corrected. That is correct. Yes, there's 5 options. You can refuse the designated premise supervisor.
Thank you very much. Thank you for that, Victoria. That's appreciated. So as I say, we'll go through all of the parties and you will have an opportunity to ask questions of the licensing officer on this report only. Does the applicant, Ms. McCartan, have any questions to ask the licensing manager?
No, not right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Does Mr. Taylor have any questions to ask the licensing manager?
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
Does Ms. Wong have any questions to ask the licensing manager?
Not at the moment, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gregory or either of your clients have any questions?
Actually, I just have one clarification. Could you just confirm if number 7 Castlegate is within the red zone of the cumulative assessment?
Sorry, I'm just flicking through my file. I will be 1 second. Part of Castlegate is within the red zone. I can't confirm. I would assume because the red zone does go up to, I'm trying to think of the name of the property.
I might assist you here. We've got the graph which shows, if you can see on my screen, that number 7
yes.
is in fact within the red zone. I just need clarification.
Yeah, the red zone does go up as far as the museum. I can't remember what the museum is called. So this will be within the red zone.
Fairfax House.
You can assume that it is within the red zone. Thank you.
It's not quite that far, Councillor Galvin, but it's the museum that's the old church.
Oh, St Mary's. Yeah, in Coppergate.
So,
yeah.
So the property is within the red zone, yes.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That's all for now.
Brilliant. Thank you. And members, Councillor Galvin, do you have any questions of Leslie?
No.
Nope. And Councillor Hook?
No, thank you.
I don't either. Thank you very much for that, Leslie. That's appreciated. So we now go to the presentation of the applicant. You have 15 minutes to address the subcommittee in support of your application. Those 15 minutes are to present your application and to call any witnesses you wish to call. So if you'd like to start whenever you're ready.
Thank you very much. First, I'd just like to say good morning to everyone and thank you for today for giving us the opportunity to speak. We at Hardy Limited understand and respect the concerns of those who have made representations regarding the licence for application for number 7 Castlegate. We would like to take this opportunity to reassure those who have made representations, as well as the residents and other businesses on Castlegate, what our intentions are. We aim to create a cafe bar specialising in natural and low intervention wines, craft beer and organic soft drinks, alongside a shifting seasonal menu of small plate charcuterie and cheeses. Our target market is for working professionals, tourists and locals, to whom we'd offer lunchtime, after work and pre-dinner social space to enjoy some small plates and drinks. In line with the Council's recommendation, our licensable activities have been amended and will be from Sunday to Thursday, 11 AM to 11 PM, and Friday and Saturdays from 11 AM to 1 AM. However, our operating hours will be until midnight on a Friday and Saturday, in line with existing businesses already operating on Castlegate. We believe our business will be adding value to Castlegate's distinctiveness and will enhance the street in line with the 45 million Castlegate regeneration project, which will see Castlegate become a key thoroughfare between the city centre and the new public space at the Eye of York. In regards to the public responses, with concerns regarding the 4 key licensing objectives, we would like to make the following statement of commitment to the upholding of public safety, prevention of crime and disorder, prevention of public nuisance, and the protection of children from harm. Firstly, in regards to public nuisance and crime and disorder concerns, as owners of the bar, we both have over 20 years experience within the York hospitality industry, specifically in restaurants and public houses. All of our employees will be fully trained in the sale of alcohol, licensing, food hygiene, health and safety, and first aid. This training will be regular with records on site for each employee. We will also be introducing the Challenge 25, which will be in place along with a no proof, no sale verification policy with records of refusal kept on site. Vigilance, both inside and out, will be the utmost importance, and regular training on how to and when to refuse alcohol will play a significant part of the training. We will be assessing the need for door staff on a Friday and Saturday evening, and we'll be looking into using the Apex radio system, as well as building a strong relationship with the businesses already operating on Castlegate. We will continue to serve food throughout the evening and promote responsible drinking with offers that promote the sale of food. As mentioned in the responses, the premises is a small place, and therefore we'll only be welcoming parties of approximately 6 and under. This shows will not be adding to any of the congestion of the street or encouraging large groups to gather outside. Signage will be in place indicating this, along with signage encouraging customers to respect the neighbours when leaving the premises. Doors and windows will be shut at appropriate times in line with the licensing to reduce noise, and the installation of soundproofing board has already been made to the ceiling to further reduce this too. The outside areas to the rear and the front will close at 9 PM and 10 PM respectively, in line with further recommendations that we have also gladly accepted. A recorded music license has been requested to ensure music can be played within the agreed licensing hours. Music will be primary background, low level and atmospheric to allow conversation. It will no way exceed the regulated decibel levels. We will also be respecting the local residents by ensuring our bins, especially glass bottles, are completed/emptied at appropriate times in line with our licence. CCTV within the bar itself and to the front and the rear of the property has been installed in line with the licensing. In regards to the back of the building, we have no intention of blocking the passage or access points to other residents, and any seating to the rear will be arranged in line with this. We understand the passage must be kept clear at all times and intend to do so. With regards to litter and the upkeep of the external areas on Castlegate, it is the responsibility of each business owner and that of their interest to keep these areas from litter and clean. We will be introducing our own cleaning schedule. This will include the sweeping of the front of the property on a daily basis, and any off sale of food and drinks will be in recyclable containers, and customers will be encouraged to use and dispose of cigarettes within the ashtrays provided. Overall, we want to add to York's independent businesses and offer a relaxed atmosphere for locals and tourists to enjoy and socialise in responsibly. We will be creating new jobs for people with exciting training opportunities, and will be working with and supporting local suppliers. We also intend to work with local artists and promote the sale of their work with showcasing events. We intend the space to be used for residents themselves on Castlegate. This year has shown many businesses that employees can work and continue to work from home after the pandemic. We want to create a safe space for those residents to come and work in a relaxed environment with a strong Wi-Fi signal and offer a change of much needed scenery after this year of working from home. We want to continue to help promote Castlegate using social media to encourage locals and tourists to visit the area and for it to become a signature street to visit York. We'd love to welcome any questions and hope our statement has answered and reassured any concerns regarding the application. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much for that. As I say, now we go through everybody else and invite them to ask questions of yourself. So every representative will have 5 minutes to ask questions of the applicant. So does Mr. Taylor have any questions to ask of the applicant?
Yes, I do. The subsequent agreements that have been reached with North Yorkshire Police and with the public protection go a long way to alleviate a lot of my concerns. I still have one concern, which may seem like jumping around on the head of a pin, but the agreement with the police states that it's a cafe style and defines cafe style as being a small restaurant that is serving light refreshments and meals, and that alcohol would be ancillary to that. That seems very different from your application, which says that it's a bar serving wines, beers and spirits. So the emphasis on the police is very much about a small restaurant, and obviously the nuisance caused by people coming out of a small restaurant is significantly different from people coming out of a bar. I would like confirmation that you are seeking a customer base which is actually coming in for food rather than coming in to drink. And given that there's no kitchen on your plans, I wondered how you were going to actually service that.
Yeah, thank you for your question, Mike. So we do have a prep area in the premises. I know it is quite small, but the idea is that we will be selling small plates. We're going to be doing offers, for example, where if you bought a glass of wine, you would have 2 small plates with that glass of wine. So we're kind of constantly encouraging people to be eating and drinking. For the application itself, when we first signed it, it was maybe a bit naive on our part to say it was more just bar focused because we were thinking about it being an alcohol license, but it will be ancillary to food. So food will be served, and it will be, you know, we really want to highlight the seasonal factor that we'll be using in the menu as well. Sort of offering vegan, vegetarian options as well is really popular at the moment. So we really want to become somewhere for everyone to go and experience something slightly different that York's not sort of offering. And it is a place where you could go for something substantial or for something after work. So again, enjoy a light bite and a drink before then maybe going out for dinner or then going home for dinner.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything further, Mr. Taylor?
Nothing further, no.
No, brilliant. No worries. Thank you for that. Ms. Wong, do you have any questions to ask of the applicant? Again, 5 minutes.
Yes, I would like the applicant to repeat the terms of the licence that is now being sought, because it seems there has been some adjustment because of mediation with the police and other authorities.
Certainly, thank you for your question. So our operating schedule, from Sunday to Thursday, it'll be 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. And on a Friday and Saturday, it'll be 11 a.m. till midnight. The front area will be until 10 o'clock, which is in line with the other business already operating on Castlegate, and the rear side will be until 9 o'clock. We will be serving food and drink as ancillary to each other. So and again, I think in our original application, we didn't say anything about having loud music or anything. It's always been our intention to have it as background music and things like this.
And could I ask how you are going to regulate noise in hot weather during the summer months, where we do have stretches of days where the temperature does rise? If you are playing music, my concern is that someone is going to open a door or open a window to let in air if it's hot. And as nearby residents, we are very concerned about noise nuisance.
Definitely, I completely understand that as well. So for the back area, it would be closed by 9 o'clock. And we would keep that back door closed as well and the front door closed after a certain time. I mean, if it is hot weather and things like this, we can install fans into the building just to help air circulate. But for example, I don't think we will be, it would really radiate that much. We've got the soundproofing in the building as well. We also do have that alleyway break, so it wouldn't really be kind of vibrating through into the other buildings.
Music.
Yeah, be background music as you would have in a restaurant, so it wouldn't escalate over a normal conversation.
Do you have anything further to ask this one?
And it would only be small groups as well. So we wouldn't be having any large groups who are maybe a bit louder. It would be literally sort of tables of 4, 2 or 6.
Right, and you did say that, if I heard you correctly, that you would employ staff to clean the area directly outside your premises. Is that correct? Assuming that you have a decking area.
Yes, definitely. That's really important to us as well, that the street does look clear. Again, if it's our business in there, we want to create that first impression. So yeah, we would definitely keep the street clean.
That does complete my questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Mr. Gregory or either of his clients have any questions to ask of the applicant?
Actually, I've just got a very slight minor question here. You did mention in your introduction you have 20 years experience, but as a matter of fact, Hardy Limited was only just set up in April 2021. Is that right?
Yes, so it's our previous experience of working within the industry. So our combined experience of working in restaurants and public houses. The company itself has just started.
Sorry, I understand that there is only one director, which is yourself. So what's the combined experience? Where's that come from? I'm just not.
It'll be my business partner as well, who will be joining the venture with me.
Who will be joining?
Yes.
Right. I think many of our questions will be covered in my submissions. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And we come to members of the subcommittee. Councillor Hook, do you have any questions to ask? No, you're good. Okay, thank you. Councillor Galvin.
No, I've heard everything I wanted to hear. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, and then I will, I'm afraid, ask questions. Just on page 47, on the conditions agreed with the police, and I know this has already been slightly touched on by Mr. Taylor, but section 1 talks about the kind of aspiration for what the venue will be, and I guess one of the issues for us as members of this committee is how can we ensure that that aspiration is reflected in the license that we give you with conditions. So I wonder if do you see point 1 where we're talking about most of the operation being table service and alcohol being ancillary to food? Is that something that you would like to see reflected in the license, or is that something that you would like to have as an aspiration?
So it's our aspiration to offer sort of both service-wise. The front of the building itself is, because it is quite a small place, will be all table service, because we wouldn't want people stood at the front itself, because it would maybe look how we would want it to look. So that would be, but we do want the opportunity for, because the back area is a bit small where the bar would be, that people could order from the bar and then sit on a bar stool and sort of stay there and enjoy some drinks and some food at the bar itself. So it's a kind of, we want to have that kind of happy medium, happy balance of it being the mix of kind of table service at the front, and then at the back area you could be sat at the bar and have a drink.
Feel relaxed.
It's kind of going to add that to that more relaxed atmosphere that we want to create, and again set us apart slightly to it being not as formal as a restaurant. It is somewhere to pop in and enjoy something to eat and to have a quick drink and things.
So yeah, taking that point on there, the kind of the second point of that, I guess, which is the ancillary to food part, is that something that you would see as licensable, or is that again sort of something that would maybe be too restrictive? And I guess kind of feeding into that, how late are we talking food being served on the premises?
We'd serve food till 10, was it 10 minutes? Yeah, till 10 o'clock we said we'd serve food till. Basically until we finish. So if we're closing at 11, we're going to stop serving alcohol at 10:30. So if we stop serving food at sort of 10:30 as well, we should have everybody kind of finishing within that half an hour time to then sort of exit the building in a staggered stage. So because of the style of menu that we're going for, it is something that we can continue to prep and to prepare. Again, as it's been mentioned, it is a small space, so we won't be having a lot of equipment in that back area. It'll be a lot of fresh food and kind of things like this that we're going to be looking at: charcuterie boards, cheeses, breads, things like this to kind of go with. So it is, we really want to kind of create it and kind of have that style of dining out where it is, you can just kind of keep going with it, really. A bit like a tapas kind of thing.
Okay. So yeah, just to come back to this bit. So when we're talking about ancillary to food, is that something that you would like to see in the license or not?
Yeah, I think it's already in the license already.
We agreed with
we agreed that with the police. So yeah.
You've agreed. Yeah, specifically, yes. Right. Okay, brilliant. Yeah. That's good.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that answer. I don't have anything further, so we shall move on. So representatives to present their cases. So now I will ask each representative in turn to make their submissions and call any witnesses they might have. Each representative will have a maximum of 15 minutes to present their submissions and call any witnesses. And we'll hear from those parties in the following order: Mr. Taylor, Ms. Wong, and Mr. Gregory, representing his clients. So Mr. Taylor, I now invite you to make your submissions and call any witnesses. You have a maximum of 15 minutes.
Good morning again. Given the amendments that have been agreed with the police and with the public protection, and the answers that the applicant has made regarding it being a food establishment rather than a drinking bar, then the representations that I made are no longer valid. I'm happy to proceed on the basis that it is food and drink is ancillary to it. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I think technically we do have to allow people to ask questions of you, but if people do not, then that is obviously fine. So does the applicant, Ms. McCartan, have any questions to ask of Mr. Taylor?
No, thank you, not at the moment.
Does Ms. Wong have any questions to ask of Mr. Taylor?
No, I don't.
Thank you. Does Mr. Gregory or either of his clients?
We haven't got questions at the moment, thank you.
No worries, cheers. Councillor Galvin?
No,
Councillor
I'm quite
Hook?
happy. I mean, no questions to ask.
Councillor Hook? No, I don't have anything either. Brilliant. Well, we have to go through the procedures. Right, Ms. Wong, it's now your opportunity to present your case. You have 15 minutes to make your submissions and call any witnesses. Thank you.
Thank you. The application made by Hardy Limited seems to have morphed into something completely, well, something different from the original application. However, on behalf of my household, that is all of the long leaseholders at 11 Castlegate, I am still concerned about noise. I think stopping people from opening doors or opening windows if the weather is hot, or indeed if the temperature within the premises of 7 Castlegate itself is hot, that people will inevitably do this. And that will have an impact on nearby residents. Obviously, number 9, number 11, and all of the rustic households at the Coppergate Centre, because some of them do overlook the back of 7 Castlegate. The other thing that I have a concern about is that however well-intentioned the proprietors of establishments of this kind are, it's a legal fact, and I am a solicitor by profession, that once customers have left these premises, they are no longer the responsibility of the proprietors. If they cause a public nuisance, they are the responsibility of the police and law enforcement if anybody complains. That is my concern. 11 Castlegate fronts directly onto the mouth of Friargate, and we have had problems in the past with, I'm sorry to say, people urinating along that street and people being sick in that street. And it's deeply unpleasant, and we really don't want an increase of that. Those are my concerns, and I'm not sure that Hardy Limited can do anything to address those concerns when their customers are no longer their responsibility if they have left the premises, but they are causing a public nuisance nearby. So those are the concerns that I would wish to express. The other thing that I would say is, and this is a broader issue, that Castlegate is not by any means a large street, either in terms of length or width. From curb to curb, the road itself is 12 feet wide. Now, the residents, we want to live in harmony with the commercial tenants, but we've already accepted, and sometimes it is a convenience, of not being able to use the footpath along Castlegate. I'm also concerned, and obviously this is a commercial decision for Hardy Limited, that we already have establishments of this kind along Castlegate. I'm not, to be honest, sure that what is proposed will enhance the image of Castlegate, which is a historic street, which in times gone by led to that part of the city walls, which was Castlegate itself, which is long since demolished. But we have Fairfax House, which is a significant Georgian house at one end of Castlegate, and beyond that we have the Castle Museum, which is obviously, when public restrictions are relaxed, will become a tourist attraction again. So those are my concerns, and that is what I would like to say, certainly on behalf of myself.
Thank you very much for that. As I say previously, we shall now go through for questions. Does the applicant, Ms. McCartan, have any questions to ask Mrs. Wong? Ms. Wong, you have 5 minutes.
I don't particularly have any questions, but I would like to just maybe address some of the concerns still, if that's okay.
Victoria, I would suggest that
I can do that later if it's better.
It is probably appropriate.
That will fall better into the summaries. This needs to be a specific question of this representation. There will be a 5-minute summary later, which is perhaps, I'm assuming, Ms McCartan, that it would fall okay in your 5-minute summary if it's not addressed to this particular representor.
Yeah, that's fine. I can do it in a summary. So yeah, that's perfect. Thank you. No, I don't have any questions at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Cheers, Victoria. Thank you. Mr. Taylor, do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you very much. Mr. Gregory or either of your clients, do you have any questions to ask of Ms. Wong? You have 5 minutes if you do.
Not at this point, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Galvin.
No.
Councillor Hook.
Thank you.
No. I mean, I guess just to sort of kind of underline the point that I think you're making, the central point of your objection here is about the cumulative impact of this within the zone and the policies that the council's talking about. Is that a fair sort of summation of your objection?
Yes, that is my objection. I would also ask the licensing authority to consider that we already have 3 establishments along Castlegate with alcohol licenses, if not more. So we have the Blue Boar Public House at 5 Castlegate. Further on down the street, we have Pairings Wine Bar. And there is also an establishment serving gin. I regret that I forget the exact name of it. Also serving alcohol. And there are also restaurants along Castlegate that do have alcohol licenses itself. Namely, there is a restaurant at 31 Castlegate. There is the Rustique restaurant. And there are 2 restaurants at the Coney Street end of Castlegate, who I also assume do have alcohol licenses. So we are already quite saturated, if I may say so, with establishments of this kind, or I would say fall into a very similar category.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. That's much appreciated. Mr. Gregory, it's now your opportunity to make your case. As I say, you have 15 minutes to make your submissions and call any witnesses.
Thank you. I am Franz Gregory, a solicitor appearing on behalf of family members of number 9 Castlegate, objecting to the granting of the license application. I hope you've had the opportunity to read my client's objections at page 65 to 77. You don't have to go to them now. You might want to look at them during your deliberation. Okay. I'm not convinced, to be honest, of the intention that the drinking would simply be ancillary to this application. My client's main concerns really is within the noise pollution. I will quickly summarize the background to my client's objection, and then I will give 3 submissions based on the licensing objectives. Why the license application must be refused in its current proposal. If the license application was granted, it goes without saying that any conditions addressing the licensable activities are enforceable. Now, Castlegate is largely a residential street with at least 70 residences in the vicinity of number 7 Castlegate. The proposed licensing venue is very small and heavily reliant on the rear yard and, of course, the pavement, the front pavement, to serve their customers. Now, with regard to the rear yard, this has been restricted in the northern venue, which is the Blue Boar, because of real and documented problems in relation to the licensing objectives, which obviously is no different to the issues being raised in this application. It would appear from a previously listed building consent application that number 7 can have no air conditioning, which means that they will heavily rely on opening doors, windows for ventilation, which of course is in contrast to their proposal. This indeed raises the real issues of noise pollution, I beg your pardon. I am very doubtful that this can be sufficiently mitigated to satisfy the licensing objectives. Now, Castlegate is already saturated with street drinking, which has a real and lived detrimental experience of some of the neighbours and residents there. But what is more important consideration is that number 7 Castlegate is not only within the cumulative impact assessment zone, it is also within the red zone. This, in my view, requires substantive consideration to be given to the application, as well as the applicant providing the subcommittee with sufficient clarity and details in their proposal with regard to meeting the 4 licensing objectives, and this has to be without any doubt. If this cannot be achieved, then it follows that the application must be refused. I understand the initial proposals have been amended to remove the red line on the plan for both the outside areas, and this is in line with the representations made by North Yorkshire Police. I understand that, but the applicant seems adamant that customers will be served in those areas to consume food as well as alcohol. And this can be seen in the summary pages at paragraph 19. Again, you might want to refer to this during your deliberation. Perhaps the subcommittee should be aware that the rear area in question, there is a complex mixture of ownership and easement rights, which will obviously raise some potential problems. The rear yard must therefore be specifically excluded or clearly conditioned out for any use at all. And of course, this would be in keeping with the conditions at Gilboa. Just a quick comment on the applicant's application before I go into my 3 submissions. The premises itself and the beer garden, as shown in the submitted plans, do not exist and cannot legally exist without listed building and planning consent. Now, the plans submitted by the applicant were prepared by BSAP, who are, I understand, the current owners of number 7 Castlegate. I am very concerned indeed that the plans make misleading representations of the premises. Again, you might want to refer to pages 66 and 69 of my client's objection for further details. It is our deepest concern that these misleading representations may have been what the North Yorkshire Police and the Public Protection Team may have relied upon in mediating, which resulted in the withdrawal of their representation. This, of course, needs further clarification and consideration. Now, I have 3 main submissions to reject the application for licensing. In my first submission, it is my client's case that the licensing objective of public safety cannot be satisfied without a representation from North Yorkshire Fire and Rescue Service. And this is because the premises and the rear yard combines a complicated network of fire exits with several interlinking properties having registered easement rights for such purposes. there are already a significant volume of drinkers consuming alcohol dispersed along the street from other venues, and this means that the one door supervisor currently at Blue Bar is unable to monitor the volume of drinkers or to deal with any arising problems. Now, number 6A, Castlegate, which is also number 10, Castlegate, Coppergate, I beg your pardon, number 9A, 9B, 11A, B, C, D, Castlegate, all have registered easement rights of road, which is over the alley and the full width of the service, and also the rear yard for deliveries. Now, the use, the deliveries and access cannot be restricted at all times of the day and during reasonable times of night. This is potentially a concern if the rear garden is allowed to be used to serve customers alcohol or even to be used as a smoking area. Now, the rear yard is also simply not big enough to be used as a beer garden, particularly with the, like I said, the interlinking shared easement rights. Now, in my second submission, it's my client's case that the licensing objective of preventing public nuisance cannot also be satisfied. There is a historical evidence that noise emanating from outdoor areas obviously create nuisance. And I refer to the decision of the licensing authority for Blue Boa, where it was decided that the rear yard was restricted to be only used to store bins and not to be used for smoking or and must be secure at all times. Now, the proposed rear yard is part of a high-sided quadrangle of 8 residential flats. Any beer garden or use of the rear garden at all will create noise and will also cause nuisance to the surrounding buildings. This is particularly a problem because the neighboring properties are all listed buildings, and because of that, they all do have single glazed windows which cannot be acoustically sealed to modern standards. Now, in granting the license to use the rear yard to serve alcohol or to even use that as a smoking area will cause even further nuisance to my client's 80-year-old elderly mother, who obviously has some serious medical conditions, and her bedroom is at the rear of the property. This will be a gross infringement of her family and private life and will cause her incredible harm, distress and suffering. And I'm sure, as you well know, that the Human Rights Act of 1998 guarantees the right to protect the private lives of and family life of my client's mother. In my last and final submission, it is my client's case that the licensing objective of preventing crime and disorder cannot also be satisfied. My client has experienced rising crime and antisocial behavior along Castlegate, with a significant increase in drinking on the street, resulting in associated problems, particularly on Friday and Saturday evenings. And this includes, obviously, urinating, cigarette bottle left on the street, broken glass, shouting, and all the rest of it. And there is actually evidence referred to at page 6 to 9 from the Pavement Cafe team confirming these problems. There are also been other complaints made by residents, which I also refer to pages 70 and 71 of the complaint. Now, allowing customers to congregate at the rear garden pose a serious risk of crime, as there are private items such as cycles, scooters and goods stored which would be at risk of being stolen or vandalized. Now, unless I can be of any assistance, these are my submissions, and obviously perhaps I will be given the opportunity again to summarize after the deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. Yes, and as I said, you'll have 5 minutes to summarise in a bit anyway as well. So thank you, Mr. Gregory. I'll now invite the parties in turn to ask questions of you and or your witnesses. Each representative will have 5 minutes to do so. Does the applicant, Ms. McCartan, have any questions to ask of Mr. Gregory?
I've just got the one question. Can we just ask what's been done to, sorry, can I ask a bit like course question because I can't read this writing.
Go for it.
Just to.
Can I just, well, that's in the summary there.
All right.
No, I don't have any questions at the moment. Thank you.
Okay, no worries. Thank you. Mr. Taylor, do you have any questions to ask Mr. Gregory?
No.
Thank you. Ms. Wong, do you have any questions to ask Mr. Gregory?
No, I have no questions, but I am very sympathetic to what he has said on behalf of his client. I have very similar concerns myself.
Thank you for that. Thank you. Do members of the subcommittee have any questions? Councillor Galvin?
No.
Nothing to raise. Councillor Hook? Nothing either. Right, I have a couple, I'm afraid. So just to sort of clarify, I guess, really on what you're saying here, it strikes me that a lot of the concerns are related to the rear yard. Would you accept a granting of license with significant conditions to restrict drinking in the rear yard?
I'm afraid we will reject and object to any conditions. It has to be excluded in its totality, the use of the rear garden.
Okay, thank you for that. That's useful. Just to sort of further clarify, I guess, really, this rear yard does have the with the deregulation of licensable activities. There is a possibility always, isn't there, that there could be.
I can't really hear you. You're speaking away from the mic. Yeah. I couldn't really hear you very well, your questions.
Oh, sorry. I'll speak up slightly. Can you hear me a bit better now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. I was just saying sort of that there is because of the deregulation of licensable activities, there is a chance, is there not, that you, even without us granting this license, there could be a significant number of table covers in that backyard.
This would be a matter that would be in dispute, to be honest, because we wouldn't accept that.
Mm-hmm. So on what grounds would, if we're ignoring the alcohol license whatsoever, on what grounds is there other objection to there being? I suspect we're getting more into the planning discussion, aren't we, really? That's probably not relevant. Yeah.
Yeah, the primary issue here is that it's a service yard for delivery and also for fire escape. So it cannot possibly be used with drinkers being congregating in the yard because of those reasons.
Okay. Okay, thank you for that. Very well, we shall move on. We come to summaries now. So each of the parties has up to 5 minutes to summarise their cases. We will go through the parties in the following order as the process dictates. Mr. Taylor, Ms. Wong, Mr. Gregory, and the applicant, Ms. McCartan, will go last. So, Mr. Taylor, you now have 5 minutes to summarise your case.
He doesn't got a case.
I have nothing further.
Nothing further
to what I've said so far. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's much appreciated. Ms. Wong, you now have 5 minutes to summarise your case, please.
Sorry, Ms. Wong, you're just on mute.
I do apologise. Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. I've very little to add apart from the objections that I have made already. I am not convinced that Hardy Limited could control noise nuisance. As I have said, from the general characteristics of Castlegate, we are already saturated with establishments of this kind. I don't feel that the applicant is bringing anything distinctively different that would enhance the prestige, if I may so express it, of Castlegate itself, which is a street. I'm very concerned that there would be an increase to the problems that we already have with litter from cigarette butts, with noise nuisance. And as I've said, with the best will in the world, the proprietors of this establishment cannot control the behaviour of their customers once the customers are off their premises. That is what I would like to say in respect of my objection.
Thank you very much for that, Ms. Wong. Mr. Gregory, you now have 5 minutes to summarise your case.
Thank you. Now, given that number 7 Castlegate is within the red zone, the council should refuse all applications within the red zone and where relevant representations have been received. Now, we have issues in relation to North Yorkshire Fire Service not making representations, but in summation, the proposal presented by the applicant is insufficiently prepared, lacks clarity in many parts to be granted a license for the following reason. Now, the lack of clarity for the need to have at least a full-time door supervisor is concerning. The lack of clarity on where CCTV will be installed to effectively discourage antisocial behaviour and at the same time not infringe on family and private life is not clear. There needs some clarity on how and what links will be built with the community and which watchdog is being referred to. What assurances is to be given if off sales are not adhered to. And it is also not clear how staff will discourage irresponsible drinking and behaviour and what measures will be in place to police these problems. There is no clarity whatsoever on how and what fire safety regulations will be in place when the plan submitted, in fact, does mislead on fire exits. There is no representations made by the fire service, which is quite surprising, to be honest. And there is no condition for picking up glasses and litter at the end of the night. It is not clear whether the noise management plan, which I think they've now proposed in the amendment, whether it will cover music levels and smoking. The premises contact details should be provided to all residents in a leaflet within every 6 months. Nothing about that in their application. No clarity as to whether there would be vertical drinking or measures to prevent this. The rear yard should not be used at all for congregating their customers for drinking, smoking, or whatever. And the issue of public safety at the rear is that the service yard is used for deliveries and fire escape. That is very important, and also to maneuver delivery items, large items, when it's required to do so. For several properties, of course, within the yard. We have problems with noise from smokers using the rear yard if they're allowed to do that, which will cause a lot of problems for our clients. Opening doors at the rear yard, and the only respite my client has, and also the residents within that interlinking area, is that this is their property, this is their residential home, and it is grossly unfair to expect them to accept that you have this additional license being granted when it's really not necessary, when we have so many other licenses being granted. Smoking areas, drinking areas within that street is oversaturated, and therefore this license cannot meet the 4 licensable objectives. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. That's much appreciated, Mr. Gregory. Ms. McCartan, you now have 5 minutes to summarise your case.
Thank you. Just to sort of highlight on some of the concerns that have sort of been mentioned today. So it is our intention that our clientele who will be visiting us maybe won't exhibit some behaviours that are concerning for Castlegate. We do already have CCTV installed outside the building and at the rear as well, and in the building itself. This as well, so maybe we can't control what clients and customers do outside of the building, but again, we have strong connections with the police. We're happy to work with the police. They can see our CCTV anytime. And again, I really want everyone to know that, you know, it is we do respect our neighbours and we take it really seriously. Any noise complaints or anything in the future wise, we will look at our procedures, how we can do things differently to make sure that, you know, this isn't a concern. The rear yard itself isn't part of the sort of license application, so we can kind of come back with that sort of planning and things like this. The fire department haven't yet been in to do a risk assessment, but this is because it is still an empty building on the ground floor. So once it is more, once we've done more of a full plan and operating, they will be coming in and doing a risk assessment. Ourselves will be doing a risk assessment as well, and we will ensure that, again, that alleyway and the access points are kept clear at all times. We know how important that is, and we do take that really seriously. Again, we'll have a cleaning schedule, so we will make sure that the front and the rear is kept clean at all times. And again, we'll be doing our own risk assessments in those areas as well. Have you got anything to add? No. I think as well, so in terms of, yeah, I think that's kind of everything for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that. So we'll now just mention, before the subcommittee considers its decision in private session, I'd like to ask the applicant to comment on any proposed amended or additional conditions that we might be minded to grant. I don't think we have discussed anything beyond what the has been proposed by Public Protection and the police, and I don't think any of the other representatives have proposed anything. Councillor Hook, Councillor Galvin, is there any additional things you'd like? No, okay. We would just, as a point of courtesy, we would usually expect to talk about those at this stage, just in case we hadn't talked about them through thoroughly. So, do members have any final queries or clarifications that they'd like to seek now from any of the parties raised, or wish to seek advice from the licensing officer on policy, or advice from the legal officer, or indeed does Victoria want to chip in with anything at this stage?
Could I ask just a little question? It's not a difficult one. What are the premises used for now, and what were they used previously? Is that a reasonable question? I haven't quite.
Leslie, I think that's a question for you.
Well, I think, yeah, okay.
I'm going to say it could be a better question for the applicant.
Yeah,
I believe the premises were previously used as a cafe, but I will let the applicant confirm that.
It was originally a vape shop, so it was retail space.
Oh.
Thank you, yeah.
Any points of clarification or anything you want, Councillor Hook?
And also prior to that, it was an art shop for many years.
Thank you for that, Mr. Gregory. That's appreciated. Victoria, do you have anything you want to stick in at this stage?
I do. I've got 4 points that I just need clarity on. Can I start by asking Leslie Cook, the licensing manager, and if Leslie, you're not the right person to clarify these for me before we go into deliberations, perhaps we can then direct the queries. I'm looking first of all at the conditions agreed with North Yorkshire Police, and on page 47, which is Annex 5 of the agenda.
Yes.
There's two, shall I say, conditions at the top that aren't numbered before we go on to the numbered, which makes it slightly confusing for us all to refer to them. But dealing with the second one that's immediately above condition 1, I hope that makes sense and everyone can see where I am on the page. It refers to opening hours being 11 till 11 weekdays, Sundays 11 till 1 AM. I'm raising with you, Leslie, the issue of the use of the words opening hours rather than licensable activities, and how you would feel as the licensing manager with that as an enforceable condition, using the words opening hours.
That wouldn't be enforceable. If members are minded to agree with the point raised by the police, it would be the licensable activities that would have to be restricted to those hours. So that would be the regulated entertainment, the late night refreshments, and the supply of alcohol. They would have to be restricted to those hours.
Thank you. And is your understanding, Leslie, that it is 11 till 11 weekdays and 11 till 1 a.m. on the weekends? I don't know if this is something you can deal with, or the applicant, Miss McCartan, but there seemed to have been reference earlier in the hearing about weekends being 11 till midnight rather than 11 till 1. That might be my confusion.
Yeah, I did pick that up when the applicant did speak, and as it says on Annex 5, the police have agreed 11 until 1 Friday and Saturday, but the applicant did say midnight on a weekend. So I don't know if she's changed her.
Yeah, just to clarify, so the license will be till 1, but our opening, so our operating hours will be until midnight. So we'd stop serving food and alcohol around 11:30 and then close at midnight.
Thank you. If we can stay with that part of the agenda bundle, Leslie, and over the page onto page 49, I'm not happy with the wording of condition 2 if the condition was granted by the members. I'm not happy with the end of the first line, approved by the City of York Council. My view is that if it's granted, that should be determined as the public protection team. There should be a name, a department or a job title in there. Is that right?
I agree, yes, it should be the public protection service of the council that agrees the noise plan.
To make it an enforceable condition?
Yes.
Thank you. Are you also in a position to be able to assist the members on the planning issues, the listed building status, the interaction of that with the licensing system? Because obviously quite a lot's been made about that by one of the representors. What's your view as the licensing manager?
Yeah, as members know, planning and licensing are both completely different regimes, and a premise does not have to have planning permission before it applies for a license, and vice versa. I did consult with the planning section yesterday due to some of the points raised within the representations, and I can confirm that the conservation officer has been dealing with this premises and has visited site. Relevant planning applications, listed building applications have been submitted, and the architect involved in that is overseeing the work and is liaising with the conservation officer. So those matters are in hand. With regards to some of the comments that have been made as well by Mr. Gregory, with regards to the fire service is restricted to what they can represent with regards to licensing applications, because it's one of the requirements of the Licensing Act that you shouldn't use the Licensing Act when you have your own legislation to deal with matters. So if the licensing authority deem it appropriate to do so, they will be able to use their own legislation to deal with any matters in relation to fire escapes from this or any other premises that exit into the rear yard.
Thank you. And if it was the situation that this license was granted and any planning or listed building decision was in conflict, what would the situation be then? Would the applicant for this license, who would then be the license holder, would they have to come back with an application to vary in order for the two to be enforceable?
Yeah, if as part of the works that may be required under the listed building requirements, if that means that the plans that have been submitted as part of the application at Annex, it was Annex 1 of the report. Yep. So if there is any amendments to the layout of the premises that do not match those plans, if members are minded to agree this licence today, the applicant would have to come back to the council, or the licence holder, as they would be at that time, would have to come back to the council with regard to maybe submitting a minor variation so that we can amend the plans that are part of the premise licence.
Thank you. And last issue, we've heard something about the blue bore and a change of the blue bore conditions. Is there any information that you want to give the members before they retire to deliberation about that premises and their use of the rear yard?
No, there isn't. I haven't got any updates with regards to the blue bore. As members are aware, there has been a number of changes with licensed premises due to the current situation we're in with the coronavirus and the easing of lockdown restrictions, and there has been premises are allowed to extend pavement cafe areas and such like at this present time.
Thank you. I've no further questions or clarity. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much for that, both Victoria and Leslie.
Can I just quickly make some clarification here, please? I'm looking at Schedule 12, Part A of the Premise License Act, in relation to the blue ball, and this would be number 12. I don't know if you've got that document in front of you. It's the premises license. The premises license Schedule 12, Part A, number 12, it does say in there that in relation to the blue ball, the bins store will not be used for any other purpose than to store bins, and will be secure at all times with a secure gate. Just to clarify that point in relation to the blue ball restriction.
I can't comment on the blue bar. I haven't got their license to hand at the moment.
I'm not expecting you to comment on that. I'm just referring to one of the documents we have in our possession, which was submitted, where it was referred to it in there. So I'm only looking at the documents we have, which clarifies the position.
That's information that's already in the knowledge of the committee, because it's in the agenda pack. Thank you.
Correct. Yes.
Thank you for that. We will take that fully into account when we come to our deliberations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so the subcommittee will now withdraw to consider its decision in private session. We'll not return to this public meeting to announce our decision today, so the parties are no longer required to remain in the meeting. The decision will be communicated in writing to all parties and announced on the council's website within 5 working days. I'd like to say a particular thank you to all parties who've attended and spoken at the hearing today, to the subcommittee, our officers, and of course our technical team who keep things running so smoothly through all of this. Thank you very much for your attendance today.